The wind tore across the mountains like a living thing, its icy fingers clawing at the trees and whistling through the gaps in the rocks. Snow fell in thick, swirling sheets covering the forest floor in a blinding white. The world seemed silent except for the howl that cut through the storm, a long, haunting sound that trembled in the frozen air. Lyra shivered in her heavy cloak, her pale hands clutching the edge of her hood. She could not see. She had not seen in many years, and yet she felt the world around her in ways others could not. The crunch of snow beneath her boots, the snap of a branch in the distance, the way the wind shifted slightly, these were all things she sensed, and they told her more than sight ever could. Tonight, though something unusual pricked at her soul, a howl had reached her ears unlike any she had heard before. It was sharp and lonely, echoing through the blizzard like a call meant only for her. It was a white wolf she knew in her bones, though she had never seen one. The villagers often warned her about the forest. They said it was cursed, that no one who ventured far into its frozen depths ever returned. But Lyra had never been one to follow fear. She had always listened to her instincts, and tonight, the howl pulled at her like a thread she could not ignore. She stepped carefully into the snow, her boots sinking slightly with each step. Her staff, a simple piece of carved oak, tapped against the frozen ground, guiding her forward. The wind tore at her cloak and her face stung with cold. But still she moved forward, drawn toward the sound. The forest was alive with shadows. Trees loomed like silent sentinels, their branches heavy with snow bending under the weight. The path was difficult, uneven, and dangerous, but Lyra felt her way through with quiet determination. Every step was deliberate. Every breath was measured. And still the howl came again, closer now, urgent and piercing. Somewhere deep in the storm she thought she saw movement, a blur of white against the gray. Her heart leapt and she paused, listening. The howl came again, stronger this time, as if the wolf itself was calling her by name. Lyra's pulse quickened. She did not know why she trusted the sound, only that she had to follow it. Hours seemed to pass as she trudged through the snow. Her arms grew tired, her fingers numb, but the pull of the howl was relentless. It led her over frozen streams and around jagged rocks, deeper into the forest than she had ever dared to go. The wind was so fierce it sometimes knocked her off balance, but she kept moving, guided by the invisible thread that bound her to the wolf's cry. Then suddenly, the ground gave way beneath her. She stumbled on a hidden ridge, her staff clattering to the ground. Panic rose in her chest, but instinct took over. She fell forward, rolling into a snowdrift, and for a moment the world went completely white. Her breath came in shallow gasps, and for a moment she thought the blizzard had claimed her. A low, deep growl rumbled through the snow. Lyra froze. Her ears, far keener than anyone else's, picked up the sound of something moving toward her. She could feel the heat before she could hear the footsteps, a presence. Strong and alive, moving through the storm. "You shouldn't be here," a voice said, low and commanding, cutting through the wind like a blade. Lyra's heart skipped a beat. She could not see him, but she could feel the weight of his gaze. He was powerful, dangerous even, yet there was something strange in the way he carried himself. He did not strike her, did not threaten her further. Instead, he came closer, his steps careful, almost protective. "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice trembling against the roar of the blizzard. "Someone who watches," he said. The growl in his voice matched the one she had heard in the howl. "You are far from where you belong, Omega." The word struck her like a shock. Omega. She had always known she was different, but she had never heard anyone speak it aloud. Her chest tightened, and yet she did not move back. There was a strange pull, a tension in the air, like the forest itself was holding its breath. "Why are you here?" she asked, struggling to keep her voice steady. He did not answer immediately. Instead, he circled her slowly, the sound of his boots muffled by the snow. Lyra could sense his strength, his dominance, the raw power that radiated from him. Yet beneath it there was something protective, something that made her feel as though she was not alone in the frozen world. "You follow the howl," he said finally, his voice softer, almost reverent. "Not many would dare. Not many would survive." Lyra swallowed hard. "I had to," she admitted. "It called to me. I didn't know why. I just had to follow." The Alpha's presence lingered closer now. The wind swirled around them, but for a moment, the blizzard seemed to pause, giving them a strange, suspended clarity. Lyra's mind raced. She did not know if she should trust him. She did not even know if he was human entirely, but something in her heart told her that she was meant to be here, in this frozen forest at this very moment. You are brave, he said, and foolish. The forest is no place for the weak. I am not weak, she whispered, though her body shook from the cold. She did not tell him that she had almost fallen, that the snow had nearly swallowed her whole. She did not need to. He could sense it. He stepped closer, and the growl that had been low and distant now rumbled beneath him like the heartbeat of the forest itself. Lyra felt a shiver run down her spine, part fear, part awe. The storm swirled around them, whipping snow into their faces, yet she felt anchored, as if his presence was a shield against the wind. You have the scent of destiny, he said almost to himself, but you do not yet understand it. Lyra tilted her head, unsure of what he meant. Destiny? She asked softly. He did not answer directly. Instead, he let a long pause stretch between them, filled only with the howl of the white wolf in the distance and the crackle of ice underfoot. Lyra felt that he was watching her, studying her, weighing her worth. And in that moment she realized she did not fear him. She felt seen. Come, he said at last, turning abruptly. If you follow me, you may live. If you do not, the blizzard will claim you. She hesitated for only a moment. The howl called again, closer now, and she knew there was no turning back. She rose, gripping her staff tightly, and followed the sound of his steps through the storm. The forest seemed endless, the snow deeper and the cold sharper. Yet with each step, Lyra felt a strange sense of purpose, a pull she could not explain. She did not know where she was going, nor did she know who this alpha truly was, but she trusted the rhythm of the path, the pull of the howl, and the presence of the man who had emerged from the storm. Hours passed in silence, save for the wind and the distant echo of the wolf's cry. Lyra's legs ached, her fingers were numb, and yet she pressed on. She could sense danger lurking in every shadow, yet she also sensed the forest bending around her, as if the world itself recognized her arrival. Then, without warning, the snow under her feet gave way once again. She tumbled forward, her staff skittering across the ice. Panic surged, and she felt the cold seep into her bones. She braced herself for the end. A pair of glowing amber eyes appeared through the swirling snow. Lyra froze, her breath catching in her throat. The eyes were intense, commanding, alive. And then a deep, low growl rolled from the storm, surrounding her, warming her, warning her. You made it, the voice said softly, almost tenderly, and Lyra realized with a shock that it came from the man standing before her. For a moment, the blizzard held its breath. And in the heart of the frozen forest, Lyra understood that her journey had only just begun. The blizzard raged around them, but Lyra no longer felt alone. The presence of the man before her, the Alpha, was both terrifying and strangely comforting. The amber glow of his eyes cut through the snow like fire in the night. She could feel the power in every step he took, the strength coiled beneath his calm exterior. You survived the forest alone, he said, his voice low and commanding, yet tempered with something softer, almost curiosity. Few would dare, and fewer still would reach me. Lyra shivered, not entirely from the cold. I had to follow the howl, she said. Her voice was small but steady. It called to me. I don't know why, but I had to. The Alpha tilted his head, studying her. The wind tugged at his dark cloak, revealing glimpses of a strong frame beneath. The howl is not for the weak. It chooses, he said. It chooses those who can face what lies ahead. Lyra's heart pounded. She did not know what lies ahead meant, but something deep in her chest told her it was important. Then it chose me? She asked softly. He did not answer at once. Instead, he stepped closer, careful, measured, and Lyra could sense the raw power in his movements. Perhaps, he said finally, or perhaps it is testing you. You are different, Omega. The word stung, yet it also carried weight. She had always known she was unlike others in her village. They whispered about her origins, her quiet, keen instincts, and the way she seemed to sense things others could not. Yet she had never felt stronger or more alive than at this moment, in the heart of a blizzard, facing a man who was more than human. Why do you call me Omega? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. I don't understand. The Alpha's amber eyes softened as though he were weighing how much to reveal. An Omega is not weak, he said slowly. It is a title, one that carries power, hidden strength, and destiny. You may not know it yet, but you were born to follow, and to survive. Lyra swallowed hard. The snow whipped her face, stinging her cheeks, yet she did not step back. And you? She asked. Who are you? He exhaled slowly, the wind carrying his words away and back again. I am Kale, he said, alpha of this forest and guardian of its secrets. I am the one who stands between the forest and those who would harm it. Lyra listened, sensing the weight of his claim. There was authority in his voice, a command that seemed to echo in her very bones. You protect the Howl? She asked. Kale's gaze darkened. The Howl chooses, but it also warns. There are forces in this world. Forces that seek to control what should remain free. I protect what cannot protect itself, and you have been chosen to walk a path that will change everything. Her pulse quickened. Change. She had never thought of herself as part of anything larger than her village, the cold, and the simple routines of life. Yet something about Kale's words stirred a longing in her, a spark of destiny she could not ignore. Why me? She whispered. I am blind. I cannot fight, I cannot… See? Kale's lips curved slightly, almost a smile, though it did not reach his eyes. Blindness is not weakness, he said. It sharpens the senses others take for granted. You hear, you feel, you understand in ways others cannot. That is your gift, Omega. That is why the Howl called to you. Lyra felt a mixture of fear and awe. To hear such words from a man so powerful, so commanding, was both terrifying and thrilling. Her fingers tightened around her staff and she took a cautious step forward. What path? She asked softly. What do you mean I must walk a path? Kale's eyes glowed brighter in the dim light of the storm. The forest is old. Its magic is older than any village or king. There are dangers beyond comprehension. A rival alpha seeks to claim my territory and all who dwell within it. You have been drawn here because you may tip the balance. Lyra's heart pounded. She had always known she was different, but never had she imagined being part of a conflict so vast, so ancient. I don't know how to fight, she admitted. You will learn, Kale said firmly. But first, you must survive the night. The wind roared, snow swirling around them, and Lyra could feel the forest closing in, hiding dangers just beyond her awareness. She shivered, not only from the cold but from the weight of his words. The forest was alive with unseen eyes, and Kale was the only shield between her and the unknown. I don't even know if I can trust you, she whispered, almost to herself. Kale's gaze softened, and for the first time, Lyra sensed vulnerability beneath his command. Trust is not given lightly, he said. You have none for me yet, and rightly so. But know this, I will not let the forest or the rival alpha take you from me. Lyra's pulse quickened. She had never felt this kind of protection or attention from anyone before, and it unsettled her. Yet in the same moment it filled her with a strange comfort. She could not see Kale, but she felt him, a presence strong and alive, as real as the snow beneath her feet. Hours passed, though it felt like moments, as Kale led her through the storm. He moved with a grace that seemed unnatural, every step deliberate, every gesture controlled. Lyra followed, guided by the sound of his voice, the rhythm of his movements, and the faint pull of the white wolf's howl. Finally, they reached a small clearing. The snow had piled high, forming natural walls of white that blocked the wind. In the center, a frozen stream glittered like crystal under the dim light of the storm. Lyra sank to her knees, exhausted, her hands trembling from cold and fatigue. Kale knelt beside her. His hands were strong and steady, but he did not touch her unless she allowed it. Instead, he spoke, his voice low and steady, grounding her. You have done well, Omega. Most would have turned back hours ago. But you listen to the world. You hear its call. That is why you are here. Lyra's breath came in shallow gasps. I don't understand any of this, she admitted. Why me? Why now? Kale's amber eyes seemed to pierce the snow around them, seeing beyond the storm. The world chooses when it is ready, he said. And you were ready before you even knew it. There was silence then, filled only with the roar of the wind and the distant echo of the wolf's howl. Lyra could feel the pull of something greater than herself, something ancient and powerful. She did not know if it was danger or destiny or perhaps both, but she knew she could not turn back. You will rest here for now, Kyle said. The blizzard will not last forever, but when it passes, your journey begins in earnest. You must be ready. Lyra nodded, though she felt the weight of his words pressing down on her like the snow itself. She did not know what lay ahead. But she knew one thing, the Alpha's presence, the Howl, the forest, it had all chosen her for a reason she did not yet understand. As she huddled against the snowbank, trying to conserve warmth, The amber glow of Kyle's eyes remained fixed on her. She could not see him, but she felt him guarding, watching, waiting. And though fear still tugged at her heart, a spark of courage had been lit. The howl came again, closer this time, clearer. It was a promise, a warning, and a guide all at once. Lyra closed her eyes and listened, letting it fill her with strength. Somewhere deep in the storm, she felt a connection she could not explain, a bond forming between herself, the alpha, and the white wolf whose call had brought her here. For the first time in her life, Lyra did not feel blind. She felt alive. The storm had begun to calm, though the forest remained cloaked in white. Lyra's fingers still trembled from the cold, but the presence of Kale beside her made her feel steadier than she had in years. The blizzard had passed, but the silence that followed was heavy, as if the forest itself were holding its breath. Kale moved ahead, leading her carefully over the uneven ground, his amber eyes scanning the trees for any signs of danger. Lyra followed, her staff tapping the frozen earth in steady rhythm. She had learned to trust him, not fully, not yet, but enough to know that his presence was a shield against the unknown. "You are tired," Kale said quietly, his voice soft yet firm. "Rest is needed before the true journey begins." Lyra shook her head. "I can't rest. I need to understand everything. The howl, the forest, you. Why did it choose me?" Kale's gaze lingered on her, unreadable yet piercing. "Patience," he said. "The forest reveals its secrets only to those who are ready, and you may not yet be ready for all of them." Lyra's heart thudded in her chest. There was an urgency in her soul, a need to know why she had been drawn to the forest and to the alpha who stood beside her. She could feel something stirring inside her, something powerful and unfamiliar. "Show me," she whispered. "Please." Kale's eyes softened for a brief moment, a flicker of something human shining through his otherwise commanding presence. "Very well," he said. "But know this, Omega, once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you know, nothing will ever be the same." Lyra nodded, her grip tightening on her staff. She was ready. Kyle led her deeper into the forest, where the trees grew denser and the snow formed thick walls around them. The air felt charged, alive, and Lyra sensed it immediately. Her fingers brushed over a tree trunk, and she felt a faint hum beneath her touch, as if the forest itself were breathing. They reached a clearing, larger than any Lyra had imagined. In the center lay the ruins of an ancient temple, half buried in snow and ice. Broken pillars leaned at impossible angles, and carvings in a language older than time were etched into the stone. The air was thick with magic, subtle but unmistakable. "This place," Kyle said, his voice reverent, "is where the curse began. Long ago, the first Alpha King bound the forest to protect it, but in doing so, he created a chain. A curse for those who follow the howl without understanding its meaning." Lyra's breath caught. "A curse?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "What kind of curse?" Kale's amber eyes held hers. "The curse marks the chosen Omega. It tests them, shapes them, and ultimately decides whether they will rise or fall. The howl brought you here for a reason. You are the one who may break the chain, or become part of it." Lyra felt a chill deeper than the cold. "Why me? I am nothing special. Just a blind girl from a village." "You are stronger than you know," Kyle said firmly. "The forest does not make mistakes. Your instincts, your senses, your courage, they are all part of what the curse recognizes. You were meant to hear the howl. You were meant to follow it. And now you will face what the curse demands." The wind shifted suddenly, and Lyra felt a presence moving around them. Shadows twisted in the snow, and the air grew heavier. She stiffened, her fingers gripping her staff tightly. Kale placed a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. "Do not be afraid," he said. "Fear is natural, but it cannot control you. The curse is not your enemy. It is the path you must walk to understand your power." Lyra nodded, though her heart pounded with uncertainty. She had never imagined that her journey would lead to something so vast, so ancient. The ruins seemed to pulse with energy as if alive, and the echoes of the past whispered to her in the wind. Kyle led her to the center of the temple, where a frozen pool reflected the pale light of the sky. The surface of the ice shimmered strangely, and Lyra could sense something beneath it moving. "Look," Kale said, kneeling beside her. "The curse manifests here. What you see is not just ice, it is memory, prophecy, and choice all bound together. You must face it, Omega. Only then will you understand what you are meant to do." Lyra knelt beside him, her heart racing. She reached out, her fingers brushing the icy surface. Immediately, visions filled her mind. Flashes of past alphas, battles fought in the snow. Wolves with eyes like fire, and Omegans like her standing at the edge of impossible decisions. She gasped, withdrawing her hand. "Do not fear what you see," Kale said softly. "The visions are lessons. They show you the path, but you must choose how to walk it." Lyra's mind swirled with images. She saw herself standing alone in the snow, facing creatures of shadow guided only by the Howl. She saw Kale, commanding and strong, yet vulnerable when protecting her. And she saw herself not as a weak girl, but as someone capable of changing the fate of the forest itself. "This is too much," she whispered, tears stinging her eyes. "I don't know if I can do it." Kyle's gaze softened. He reached out, brushing a strand of snow-damp hair from her face. "You are not alone," he said. "I am here. The forest is here. And the Howl is yours to follow. You do not have to understand everything at once. You only need to trust yourself." Lyra took a deep breath, closing her eyes. She could feel the pulse of the forest beneath her, the presence of Kale beside her, and the echo of the white wolf in the distance. Slowly, she extended her hand again, touching the ice with renewed courage. The visions came once more, but this time she did not pull away. She let them wash over her, letting the images guide her instead of frighten her. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the clearing. Lyra stiffened, sensing danger immediately. Kale's hand went to the hilt of his blade, his posture protective and tense. The air grew colder, darker, and Lyra could hear a low, menacing growl rising from the snow beyond the ruins. "A rival alpha," Kale muttered, his voice sharp. "He has come to claim the forest, and you." Lyra's heart pounded in her chest. She had not realized the danger would come so soon. "Why would he want me?" she asked, fear lacing her voice. "Because you are Omega," Kyle said, "and the curse chooses only those with the power to change fate. He fears what you may become, and he will try to destroy it before you have the chance to rise." The rival alpha stepped into the clearing, massive and imposing, his eyes glowing with a cold, dark light. Wolves emerged behind him, their fur black as night, and they circled the ruins with predatory precision. Lyra felt the weight of their gaze, felt the threat in the very air. Kale stepped in front of her, his posture unyielding. "Stay behind me," he said. "Do not engage unless I tell you. Your strength is greater than you know, but you are not ready to fight them yet." Lyra nodded, her fingers trembling but her resolve firming. She had come this far, followed the Howl through a blizzard, and faced the unknown. She would not falter now. The rival alpha's growl deepened. "Step aside, Kale," he demanded. "The forest belongs to me now." Kale's amber eyes burned with quiet fury. "You will not claim it," he said. "Not while I stand here." For a moment, the two men, or the alpha forces, stood in tense silence, the snow swirling violently around them. Lyra could feel the tension radiating from Kyle, the power that pulsed in his every movement. She realized then that he was more than a protector. He was a force of nature, bound to the forest, bound to the curse, and bound to her. Her heart ached with something she could not name. Fear, yes, but also something deeper, something that stirred in the space between danger and trust. She had followed the Howl through the blizzard, and now, at the heart of the forest, she understood why. This was her trial, her awakening, and her path to becoming more than she had ever imagined. Kyle's voice cut through her thoughts, low and steady. "Whatever happens next, Omega, trust yourself. Trust the Howl. Trust me." Lyra nodded, feeling the weight of the forest, the curse, and the alpha beside her. She could hear the white wolf howl again, fierce and clear, a promise and a warning all at once. And as the rival alpha stepped forward, Lyra knew that nothing would ever be the same. The rival alpha's presence loomed like a shadow over the forest, dark and oppressive. Lyra could feel it pressing against her chest, a cold, heavy weight that made every step harder. Snow crunched beneath her boots as Kale led her away from the ruined temple, moving with purposeful speed, yet careful to keep her from stumbling. "Stay close," Kale commanded, his voice low but firm. His amber eyes scanned the swirling snow, alert to every sound, every movement. He will not give up easily. The rival alpha fears you, Omega, because you carry something he cannot understand. Lyra's hands gripped her staff tightly, knuckles white. "I still don't understand," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't know what power I have, or how I can stop him." Kale glanced at her, his expression unreadable but serious. "You have more than you realize," he said. The forest has chosen you, and so has the Howl. Trust it, trust yourself. That is the first step. Lyra nodded, though uncertainty churned in her chest. Every instinct in her body screamed fear, yet she also felt a strange pull, strength rising from somewhere deep inside. She did not know how to wield it, but she could sense it, like a quiet heartbeat waiting to be claimed. The snow thickened around them, swirling in blinding sheets. Shadows danced in the whiteness, and Lyra could hear the low growl of wolves moving in the distance. The rival Alpha's pack had found them, she realized with a shiver. Kale moved faster, guiding her through a narrow pass between frozen cliffs. Their breaths came in clouds, visible in the cold, and their footsteps echoed softly against the ice. Lyra's ears picked up subtle sounds, the snap of a branch, the shuffle of paws, the whisper of wind, and slowly, she began to understand why Kale had called her Omega. Her senses, heightened by blindness, allowed her to anticipate danger before it arrived. "Careful," Kale warned, pointing his staff toward a shadow moving in the snow. A black-furred wolf emerged, its eyes glowing like embers. Lyra froze for a heartbeat, then remembered Kale's words. Trust herself, trust the forest, trust the Howl. She took a deep breath and moved her hand slightly, guiding it toward the wolf's path. The wolf hesitated, growling softly, as if sensing the courage emanating from her. Kale's eyes widened in surprise, though he did not speak. Lyra realized then that her presence, her courage, and perhaps something deeper, was influencing the forest itself. The wolf backed away, disappearing into the shadows. Kale exhaled slowly. "You have the gift," he said quietly. "I had hoped it would awaken soon, but I did not expect so quickly." Lyra's chest swelled with a mixture of fear and awe. "Gift? What do you mean?" "You can communicate with the forest," Kale said. "With the wolves. With the spirits that linger here. It is a rare power, Omega, and it will guide us through what comes next. But it is dangerous, and it requires trust in yourself and in those who protect you." Lyra's mind raced. She had never imagined such a thing, yet deep in her chest she felt a resonance, a connection with the world around her that was undeniable. She could feel the rhythm of the forest, the heartbeat of the snow, the presence of Kale and the Howl guiding her forward. Suddenly, the rival Alpha appeared, emerging from a drift of snow like a shadow rising from the ground. He was massive, his black-furred pack surrounding him, eyes glowing with dark intent. Lyra's heart pounded, but she did not step back. She remembered Kale's words. Trust herself. Trust the forest. Trust the Howl. Kale raised his staff, positioning himself between her and the threat. "Stay behind me," he said. "Do not act until I give the signal." Lyra nodded, gripping her staff tightly. She could feel her pulse sinking with the forest, with the Howl, and with Kale's presence beside her. The rival Alpha snarled, advancing, and his wolves mirrored him, circling with precision and menace. Kale's amber eyes locked on the rival Alpha's. "You will not claim this forest," he said, his voice low, resonant with authority. "You will not touch what is bound by the Howl. Leave now or face the consequences." The rival Alpha growled, the sound deep and menacing. "I will take what is mine," he said. "The Omega is the key, and she will be mine or fall." Kale's gaze hardened. He raised his staff, and the wind seemed to respond, swirling violently around them. The forest itself felt alive, shifting in anticipation of what was to come. Lyra's hands trembled slightly, but she did not move back. She could sense the forest's rhythm, the subtle currents in the snow and wind, and something inside her began to stir. A latent power, quiet, but undeniable. She extended a hand toward the snow, focusing on the rhythm of the earth beneath her. The rival Alpha snarled, stepping closer, and the ground beneath his feet shifted. Snow rose in sudden gusts, forming a barrier between him and Lyra. She felt the strength of her own influence, small but growing, and realized that the forest was responding to her will. Kale's eyes widened slightly in acknowledgement. "Well done," he said quietly. "You are learning faster than I expected." Lyra's chest heaved with excitement and fear. She had never felt such power before, yet it frightened her. The rival Alpha was strong, and his pack was relentless. She knew she could not hold them off alone, but she also realized that the forest, the Howl, and Kale were her allies. The rival Alpha roared, a challenge and a threat all at once. His wolves surged forward, but Lyra raised her hand instinctively. A wave of cold wind erupted from the snow, forming a barrier that pushed the wolves back. They howled in frustration, retreating slightly. Kale's amber eyes met hers, and for the first time Lyra felt a connection that went beyond trust. It was understanding, recognition, and partnership. "You are ready for more than survival," he said. "You are ready to embrace what you were born to be." Lyra swallowed hard, focusing on the rhythm of the forest, the beat of the snow, and the pull of the howl. She could feel the presence of the rival alpha, the tension in the air and the power rising within her. Slowly, carefully, she extended her hands again, sending another wave of cold through the forest. The wolves and the rival alpha staggered, taken aback by the unexpected force. Kyle moved with precision, leading her through the clearing toward a narrow pass that would give them safety. "Follow me closely," he said. "We are not yet done, but you are learning. The forest and the howl will protect you as long as you trust them. And trust yourself." Lyra's heart pounded with excitement and fear, but she did not falter. She had followed the howl through the blizzard, faced a rival alpha, and felt the stirrings of a power she could not yet name. And through it all, Kale's presence remained steadfast, a guide, protector, and partner in this strange, magical trial. As they moved deeper into the forest, Lyra could feel her confidence growing. She was no longer the frightened girl from the village. She was the Omega, chosen by the howl, bound to the forest and awakening to the power that had always lain within her. The snow shifted around them, forming shapes and currents that seemed alive. Wolves howled in the distance, some following, some retreating. Lyra realized that the forest was alive in ways she had never imagined, and that she was beginning to understand its language, its rhythm, and its power. Kale glanced at her, his expression unreadable but approving. "You are ready," he said. "The rival alpha will not give up easily, but you are not alone. Together we will face whatever comes." Lyra nodded, a spark of determination lighting her eyes. She could feel the pull of destiny, the whisper of the howl, and the strength rising within her. She had survived the blizzard, faced the ruins, and now stood ready to face the rival alpha with Kale at her side. The forest seemed to hold its breath around them, waiting for the next move, the next trial, the next test of courage and trust. Lyra knew that the path ahead would be dangerous, but she also knew that she was no longer alone. She had the forest, the howl, and Kale, and for the first time in her life she truly felt alive. The forest was alive with tension. Every tree, every snowdrift, every shadow seemed to hold its breath as Lyra and Kale faced the rival alpha once more. The bitter wind whipped around them, carrying the growls of the black-furred pack and the echo of the white wolf's howl, calling out like a guardian of fate. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest. She could feel the power stirring inside her, the rhythm of the forest, the pull of the howl. She was no longer a frightened girl stumbling through snow. She was the Omega, chosen by destiny, and every step she had taken had led to this moment. Kale's amber eyes were fixed on the rival alpha, unwavering and commanding. "This ends now," he said, his voice deep and steady. "Step aside or face the forest's wrath." The rival alpha sneered, his dark eyes glinting with malice. "I will take the Omega," he growled, "and nothing will stop me." Lyra felt the forest hum beneath her feet, a vibration that resonated with her heartbeat. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and let the rhythm guide her. The howl filled her mind, clear and sharp, calling her to rise, to fight, to claim her destiny. "Kale," she whispered. "I can feel it. I think I can help." Kale's gaze softened slightly, though he remained alert. "Trust yourself, Omega," he said. "Trust the forest. Trust the howl. We are one in this fight." Lyra stepped forward, her staff gripped tightly in both hands. She focused on the energy around her, the ice, the wind, the snow, the whispers of the forest spirits. Slowly, a wave of power radiated outward from her, a shimmering aura of cold and light that made the rival alpha stagger. "You, what are you?" The rival alpha hissed, stepping back, his pack circling warily. Lyra's amber senses, heightened by blindness, allowed her to perceive the forest's will, the flow of energy, and the rhythm of life around her. She extended her hand, and the snow responded, swirling in intricate patterns that formed barriers and currents. Wolves hesitated as the energy pulsed, some bowing slightly in respect, recognizing her as part of the forest itself. Kale moved beside her, matching her movements with his own strength and skill. Together they formed a rhythm, a bond that made them formidable. "You underestimated her," Kyle said, his voice steady, carrying authority. Do not make the same mistake again. The rival alpha snarled, lunging forward, but Lyra raised her staff. A blast of icy wind struck him, forcing him to stumble back. She could feel her power growing, not just as force, but as control, command over the forest, the snow, and even the will of the wolves around her. You are stronger than I thought, the rival alpha admitted, his voice tinged with both fear and fury. But strength alone cannot claim destiny. Lyra's hands glowed faintly as she focused, letting the energy flow through her. Destiny isn't given, she said softly, her voice carrying over the wind. It's claimed, and I claim mine. The white wolf's howl rang out again, sharp and clear, echoing through the trees. Lyra felt the call resonate with her very soul. The forest itself seemed to shift, snow rising in waves like the tide, trees bending slightly to shield her from the rival alpha's attacks. She had never felt such connection before. Every step, every movement, every pulse of energy was hers to command. Kale fought beside her, every movement precise, his strength and skill unmatched. Yet he did not overshadow her. Instead, he guided her, protected her, and amplified her power. Together, they were unstoppable. The rival alpha lunged again, this time with full force, his pack surging behind him. Lyra focused, letting the forest and the howl guide her. She extended her hands and the snow erupted around him, forming walls and currents that swept him off balance. He fell to the ground, struggling to regain control, while Lyra and Kale moved forward in unison. A seamless combination of strength and instinct. You cannot stop this, Lyra said, her voice steady, filled with newfound confidence. The forest has chosen me. The howl has chosen me, and together we will protect what is ours. The rival alpha growled, rising to his feet one last time. He lunged, desperate, but Lyra's power surged, flowing through the forest, through Kale, and into the very air around them. Wolves scattered, unable to resist the force of nature she had become. Ice and wind formed a barrier that lifted him off his feet, pinning him in place. Kyle stepped forward, his amber eyes blazing. This is the end, he said, his voice resonating with authority and command. You cannot take what does not belong to you. The rival alpha let out one final roar, defiance in his eyes, and then the snow and ice claimed him, sweeping him back and away from the clearing. The forest shivered, the energy settling, and Lyra felt the pulse of life around her calm. She had done it. She had faced the rival alpha and emerged stronger, more connected to the forest and the howl than ever before. Lyra sank to her knees, exhausted but exhilarated. The snow beneath her felt warm, comforting, and alive. Kale knelt beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. You did it, he said quietly. You faced the trial, embraced your power, and claimed your destiny. You are the Omega the forest has been waiting for. Lyra's breath came in shallow gasps, but she smiled, a mixture of relief and wonder lighting her face. I didn't know I could, she whispered. I didn't know this power was inside me. Kale's gaze softened, and for the first time his amber eyes held not only authority but warmth. It has always been there, he said. You only needed to trust yourself and trust the forest to let it awaken. Lyra looked at him, seeing not just the alpha, the protector, but someone who had guided her, believed in her, and stood by her through every trial. A connection deeper than words passed between them, unspoken yet undeniable. The white wolf appeared then, emerging from the snow with a quiet grace. Its eyes glowed softly, and it circled them once before resting nearby. Lyra felt the connection immediately, the bond between herself, the forest, the howl, and the creatures that guarded it. She realized she was no longer alone. She was part of something greater, something ancient, powerful, and eternal. Kale stood, extending his hand to help her. Lyra took it, rising to her feet, feeling the warmth of his presence beside her. The forest is safe, he said softly. For now. But you have done more than survive. You have awakened the power within you, and the rival alpha knows that. He will not forget. Lyra nodded, a spark of determination in her eyes. Then we will be ready, she said. Together. Kale's lips curved into a faint smile, rare and fleeting. Together, he echoed. His hand lingered near hers, the bond between them stronger than the snow, the forest, or even the howl. The wind shifted, carrying the faint echo of the white wolf's howl, sharp and clear, a promise of future challenges and triumphs. Lyra felt it resonate in her chest, a reminder of the path she had walked and the power she had claimed. She was no longer a blind girl lost in the blizzard. She was the Omega, chosen by destiny, connected to the forest, and bound to the Alpha who had guided her through every trial. As they walked back through the snow-covered forest, Lyra could feel the pulse of life all around her. The trees, the snow, the creatures, and even the distant mountains. She had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, yet she had emerged stronger, wiser, and more alive than ever before. Cale walked beside her, his hand occasionally brushing against hers. A quiet reassurance of trust, partnership, and something deeper. Lyra felt a warmth in her chest she could not name, but it filled her with courage and hope. The forest had chosen her. The Howl had guided her. And together, she and Cale would face whatever challenges came next. The snow began to fall gently again, soft and quiet, as if the forest itself were blessing their victory. Lyra closed her eyes, listening to the faint whisper of the wind, the echo of the white wolf, and the steady presence of Cale beside her. She had followed the Howl through the blizzard, faced the rival Alpha, awakened her power, and claimed her destiny. And as the forest stretched endlessly before her, filled with mysteries, magic, and life, Lyra knew that this was only the beginning. For the Omega, the forest and the Alpha were bound together, forever changed and ready to face whatever the world or the curse might bring.